know a lot of us that have Mopars or AMCs or any other vehicle, a Torqueflite transmission, whether it be a 904, 727, a lot of the A series trannies, 998s, whatever, have some vehicle at our house or some Torqueflite transmission we have that has that slow drip or that makes that massive puddle on the floor of our garages or our buildings or whatever. Much like this one right here underneath this 998 I have above me here. And usually that small drip is from the Selector shaft seal. So as you can see, I actually wiped this down somewhat, and as you can see, we have plenty of transmission fluid all over the place. It comes out of Selector shaft seal, which is on the top side where the shifter lever is. It comes basically through the case and on the top of the valve body. So what we're actually gonna do here today, we're gonna pull this pan off, pull out the valve body, and show you guys how to change that seal and make it work correctly so you guys don't have all of this leakage in the future. Which isn't really too terrible of a task. I know pulling a valve body out of a transmission sounds very daunting, but it's really not that bad actually. So we'll kind of pull it apart. I'll do a step-by-step kind of how it goes, what seals to change, how to clean everything, and how to make it work for you guys. And which seal actually is usually the problem. It's never actually the one that's on the outside, it's actually pounded into the case. It's usually the one that's actually inside the valve body itself, where the kickdown lever comes up through the center of the main boss that comes out the top, where your actual shift lever goes on. So I'll show you how to get that seal in and out and that kind of thing. So let's get started. Well, first things first, started out with some cleaning. So I had a little bit of gravel and grime on top of the transmission, which is just usually why these actually fail in a lot of trucks and Jeeps and that kind of stuff. They end up with so much gravel up here and mud and grime, it actually it falls down into this shaft and actually screws the seal up. So I got everything nice and cleaned up. I got all that off last night and also washed up clean, so we're ready to play with it today. So we'll actually get to pulling the pan off here in a second, but that's kind of one thing to do is the main thing, just so you don't end up with any more junk inside of the transmission, or even just when you want to put the seal in up here, you can do it a lot easier. So we'll get this pan cleaned out here quick, and then we'll start dropping the fluid and start the fun. All right, so now we got everything else ready to go, and our tools over here, so time to start pulling off the pan. Alright, so when you're pulling the pan too, it's always good to pull the bolt side, leave one on the far side over here and then one over here. That way it doesn't fall on your face. You don't have a face full of tranny fluid. I mean, it doesn't taste too bad, but it's not really the most delicious thing in the world. So it's just something that way you kind of hold most of the fluid up there. So you can kind of pull the bolts out, and you can kind of slowly drop it down a little bit so it can drain a little bit, kind of like this, without getting too much on you. Like that. Then you can kind of drop it down and get it out of the hole like that without getting yourself totally covered in fluid. Now I got our pan out and stuff. Obviously pull our filter off and start working on that. I'm also going to pull our shift levers off too, which we can do that in a couple seconds. But overall our pan looks pretty decently clean. There is some color to it, that kind of thing, but we don't look too bad. There's a little bit of material in it, but it's not super bad. So it looks like pretty much like a normal tranny pan. So we'll get it taken apart here quick, get them shift levers off, which is basically just some these bolts on the back side and this side. Kick down levers on top, and then you got the shift lever itself right here. So we'll get those pulled out, and we'll be ready to start pulling the valve body out of the hole. Alright, so usually for these levers, I like to take a nice long extension, kind of coming from the back over here, works pretty well. And then you can loosen up the top one. And you kind of break it loose, just something like that. And let's loosen it up a little bit. Ready to slide off. So we can get our socket back off it. There we go. And when it's about this loose, you can usually kind of... It's a little stubborn though, so... There we go. get her pretty loose like that, usually you can kind of rock it with a hand and then slide it off top, just like this. There we go. Our light's kind of in the way here, so you can kind of stuff it up on top of the lines right there, get it out of your way, and start on the bottom one. And you can kind of see this one sitting right here for the actual shift lever itself after you get the kick down up top, like we have like this. So what we do from that point then is put the car in the right gear, and you can get to this one a little better. This one actually has some room, so you probably can take a wrench and get it to it. Or you can use a socket if you put it all the way in, let's see. Park actually be the best one, because then it'd be just all the way back. Also, a good note too is you don't have to take the levers off anything, or the rods off of the levers to get them off. You just leave the rods right installed, and you don't have to worry about adjusting anything or any playing around with anything, that kind of stuff. Just makes more work for yourself when you're done, which you already got enough going on. You're doing more work than you have to. So. And once you get that, so it kind of spins, as you can see right here. So on the looser side, you take your screwdriver, come from the back again here, and just roll it around and pick it off right this way. And just like that, you're free. You can kind of tuck them up on the tranny lines like that, and so that's it there. Now we're ready to pull the valve body out. Well, as you guys saw, I got the shift levers off a few minutes ago and stuff, so now it's time to pull. Both are off here, then we'll start pulling out the bolts to hold the valve body in, which is these bolts along the edge. These ones right here, these ones over here, and these three along this side. So, and also in that case, with the neutral safety switch detent past the lever right here, so that's this little deal right here. You can kind of see that kind of pushes in and out when you have the car in neutral, or parked in neutral, that kind of deal. So we'll get started. The filter just goes in with these three regular screws here, basically, and we're also going to change the filter after this job's done too, since the pan had a little bit of stuff in it. Just a regular amount of wear from regular tranny being in a vehicle for a while. It hasn't had a fluid change or anything, so. I did see the pan was taken off, put back on again, but previous owner, I'm guessing to try to eliminate this problem, which obviously didn't solve the leak. So, which is a pretty common occurrence. People trying to solve it with the pan. So, anyway, not too bad. There's a little bit of grime stuff right here, but otherwise looks pretty good overall for a filter in a car that's been here for a hot minute. Then pull your valve body. It's gonna be these 7/16 bolts. So it's like this. And these bolts are all the same length on the 727s and 904s and 998s. So you don't have to worry about that. They may be different on the A series transmissions, though. I haven't actually played around with those enough to fully give you a 100% answer on that. And like before, you're gonna want to leave a couple bolts in there just to make sure it's not gonna fall fully out when you pull the rest of the bolts out. And also, so you know too, there's a spring underneath this portion right here, and it's an accumulator that should be for, what is that?
Anyway, what do you need me for?
So to catch that spring over there. So it's handy to have a second person. You can do it one person, but it's not always the easiest. So I got that one. Got a bolt over here again too.
Hold your side of the valve body.
This one's fighting me pretty heavy. There we go. So let's pull the bolts out. You can drop this down.
You have to take the parking pole out.
Yep. So get this kind of by. As you can hear dirt up there from that piece. Dad's gonna catch the spring over there on this side. Got her? Okay, go like this. Now, as you can tell, there's one more rod hooked up on top right here. It's for the parking pin. You gotta kind of rock it. There it goes. At the right angle, and you can kind of pop it right out. And you got your valve body on your transmission. So got the valve body on the bench over here now. We'll let it drain for a few minutes. This is easier to work on and not get a massive mess all the bench. Anyway, so got all our bolts here pretty organized. We also have an accumulator piston. This is the one that came out with the spring. And that actually goes up in the hole right here. You guys talk about the one that actually falls out when you pull the valve body. And that sits in this hole right here. So just something to watch for when you're pulling the valve body. This will drop out of the hole by itself. Piston will sometimes stay up, but the spring will for sure fall. So it's better just be ready to catch both if you need to. Also, overall, this is a very clean transmission inside, which is nice to see. This is a 998. So this actually has a double wrap rear low reverse band. As you can see in here, as opposed to 904 has a single wrap one, because this is actually an AMC Eagle currently, hence the T case back here. But anyway, so this is how it should look inside there. Nice, clean, no burnt fluid, nothing like that, no hot drum, any of that kind of thing. We got the valve body and the bench right here, and it's mostly going to be just taking apart this section of the valve body, which isn't too bad to do. So more or less what we're actually going to be doing, so we're going to be pulling this center rod out of this barrel itself. And what that entails basically is pulling this clip off on top right here. Should be able to zoom in on the camera. I think I'll just kind of bring it up to you guys, probably the easiest. There's a C-clip right here, and we also need to remove basically this screw right here, this screw right here, and this screw right here. So basically your main 3 screws are going to be what's part of this job. What that does is because we need to pull this center rod out right here, and that's actually trapped inside of there within this bracket. You don't want to pull this bolt out. This is a set distance right here for the kick down to have, it's only so much room to back up. So you don't want to screw up any adjustments or anything in this kit. So also one thing to notice too is when we are pulling this stuff off, this is actually going to be spring loaded because there is pressure underneath here. A couple different valves that are running the valve body itself, dripping all over the place. So that's going to be this spring right here. It's going to pop out at you. Then you also have this plunger right here with this spring behind it here too. Those are just going to push back in once you pull this plate off. So it's not too big of a deal. It's just going to move on you just so you're ready for it is the main thing. So usually I start with the bottom screw right here because then I can kind of flip the valve body over and work the rest of them once you get that far. So and you do want to keep these screws in order because these actually are different lengths in this portion of this job. So you're better off to put them off to the side. We'll say, for instance, the bottom one will be on the far end. We'll work our way back towards you guys. I usually like to pull this one out second, and the end one last, because that's kind of the one that's dealing with a decent amount of the load overall. So you can tell that one's pretty short. So we're going to go right there, like that. And they are decently tight. I mean, you do tighten them, you don't have to go nuts with them. You have to have them tight, but not so tight it's going to be a problem. So you can kind of take your hand, kind of go like this, hold everything kind of down towards you while you pull that last screw out as everything kind of starts to unwind a little bit. And it will have a decent amount of pressure, I'm not going to lie to you. And you can kind of just release it just like this as you get going, and then you're ready to go like that. Just like this. And you're going to want to lay this stuff out in order as well. And if you're not sure on different things too, the best thing to do is take some pictures before you start. You never have to worry about what's supposed to look like when you're done. You can kind of refer back to that once you're done with once you're in the assembly process. All right, so now we got that out of the way. Next thing now we can actually pull the actual kick down lever out of the main body itself. So you're gonna want a small screwdriver to pull this clip out the top. And we can take our kick down rod right here, slide it straight out the bottom of the valve body. So once you pull this clip off, we got this washer right here. And now we're exposed to the seal that's actually always the problem when these are usually leaking, is this seal that sits right in between the main barrel right here and the actual kickdown lever itself. And why you need to pull the bottom plate apart and why you need to pull this out of there is you want to make sure you get any grooves, any junk off this rod. We want to actually probably might have to clean this rod up once we get it apart. So now that we're in this spot, you know, put our valve body up on end like this, and being careful not to push this thing in too many locations. You can slowly slide that out the bottom just like that, just like this, and right out like that. As you can tell, there's not too much gunk on this thing, but it could use some cleaning kind of around this area and all the other areas right here to make it a little smoother for the when the next seal goes in. We're not ruining that one too. Now we can take our small screwdriver, just kind of pop this seal out just like that, and there we go. There's your problem child right there. And the original Mopar ones, or the original Torqueflite ones, had a double lip seal, if you can see in the camera. If not, I'll take a picture of it and kind of toss it in here. It's actually got a lip on the back side and a lip on the front side. So it actually has 2 layers of catching the part and making that an issue. And this one doesn't look terrible, but it does look pretty oblong, a little bit worn. And that's usually from copious amounts of gravel coming on top right here, and actually slowly starts to work its way down alongside this seal in the shaft and grind the lip out to the point where it tends to let fluid kind of come by and creating it. Now once we're at this spot, we can pretty much clean up all these things just like this. Make sure we get everything out of there. And if you have a lot of rust in here and all this is kind of corroded and crappy looking, you're going to want to clean up that too in this same area as well. So mine is pretty decent overall. We're also going to be cleaning this barrel up a little bit too, since this actually does go through the seal. It's in the case of the transmission itself, which we're also going to be changing. I'll show you guys how to do that in a little bit once we get the valve body ready to go, and then we'll wash it up. We'll kind of get this ready to go, wash up a little bit, then we'll do the actual transmission case, get that ready to go, and then we'll start with the process putting it back together. So as you guys saw on the actual GoPro footage here, we got the valve body apart anyway. And this is what I was talking about on the kickdown lever here, basically. And we have all these galling marks. And the seal sits about right in this area, which isn't terrible, but it's not perfect either. So we're actually going to clean this up a little bit, get rid of the galling marks on that. This is kind of our seal right here. As you can see, this one's actually in decent shape, surprisingly, but it does look a little bit like the edges wore on this one, so we're going to replace this no matter what. And then we also do have our barrel for the actual main selector shaft, which is very ground up and has lots of grooves in it from all the gravel sitting on top of the transmission right there. So I'm actually going to pull this off and clean it. It's actually just sitting on a pin right now. So when you do pull this off, or if you need to pull this off to sand it and stuff like that, because you don't want to do it with the valve body, because valve bodies don't tolerate any kind of dirt. They're not dirt, and hydraulics are not friends, transmission included. When you pull this up, this ball has a big spring behind it for actually, you know, when you push the shifter in your vehicle, and actually kind of has that stopping spot, that detent feel, that's from this right here. So this is a spring behind it, and you pull up this up, this spring is going to fly at you, so be ready for that. You don't want to lose it in the shop, and you spend a half an hour in your hands, and he's looking for a steel ball rolling around. But anyway, so we're going to pop this off quick, and get this ready to kind of sand up here, and we'll get this piece cleaned up as well, get them both ready to go, put our new seal there. This is ready for the seal in the case. And once all that is done, we'll be ready to put it back in the hole again. So now we're going to pull this off and attempt to not lose the ball like every other time. Slide deal. Take that, kind of shove it in there as we're pulling it up. It's kind of like that. And that's how you lose the ball. So this kind of happened like that most of the time, but just slide it out. The ball happened to go by the shop door, so I did find it right away, thankfully. But yeah, so it got some pressure behind it, so just kind of watch what you're doing in that case. Now that you have the actual selector shaft portion of the valve body off, just watch what you're doing with the valve body, since all these are loose now. All these different plungers are just hanging out here, ready to fall out of your valve body. So just don't move any of those, leave them all in there like that. If you are going to clean your valve body, just put this, make sure it's assembled back together again with the selector shaft back on there, everything back together in this portion, and you can kind of rinse it all off with this part of the valve body downhill, so that way you rinse all this grime away from the inside of the valve body. So if it's too bad, you can obviously pop the valve body apart and go into all that detail, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. I'll get into that when we rebuild the tranny. That's in the near future. So all right, so then over here, basically, you got to run a screwdriver from the bottom side, catch the seal, just kind of knock it out of the hole just like that, and you're ready to go. So I got the seal out of the case. As you guys can see, This is pretty gravel ridden, and the main reason why we have a pretty scratched up selector shaft right here. This is basically just how it was with the gravel, just impregnated basically inside the thing. Obviously it broke when I cut onto it, but another big factor why this transmission could be leaking, I would say it's a combination of the selector shaft and this main actual case seal as well. So we'll be changing both in this application to eliminate that problem. We're ready to put the seal up in the case here and stuff. We got this hand dandy tool we made right here. So basically this is able to pull on the case and pull on the seal and pull it into place, more or less kind of like that. So I'm gonna put a bigger washer on top to obviously catch the seal properly. We don't quite have that on here yet. We pulled it off for a reason, but I'll take putting that in a second. And also this is the number we're using. This is a National 8609. That's the seal that fits in the case itself. There's probably other different versions, obviously. And this the seal for the actual valve body itself. This is the number for that, which that's the little guy for the selector shaft itself. This one right here for the kickdown shaft. Placement seal for that is 2466548, and that's actually this is actually a Mopar seal right there. So there's the little guy you need. So we'll get the actual seal put up in the transmission case itself here quick. I'll show you guys how all that operation works, and then we'll go back over to the bench over here and get the valve body put back together again. This is what you want for a washer. We actually found some bigger ones. This is the right size of the seal like this. That way you're able to put it on the stud here and pull yourself in properly, and you're all ready to go. Since obviously you can't pound the seal in from the top side because there's kind of a floor in the way there for some reason, which is not the handiest thing in the world. Once you get it out, obviously you get it all nice and cleaned up just like this. Make sure you felt this level of clean before you pull it in. That way you know it seals for sure. And we always like to put a nice little layer of silicone around the outside perimeter like this too. That way you don't have to worry about the actual seal itself not sealing to the case. Once you get the seal all siliconed up, you can see set it up in the hole just like so. Get it all nice and flat. And we'll put our washer stack on, or space spreader on, and the washers will sit up against the bottom of the case right here, and then we can pull the seal down nice and straight since you have this nice flat surface to pull against. So then just like that, get the tool all put in the hole. All good to go. Same as the top side, make sure your washer's nice and center, and you can pull right in. Just like that. You're home. You just kind of pull your nut off the backside like that, and you're ready to go. So now we got everything all cleaned up. I got this selector shaft, got nice and wire wheeled, ready to go. I actually had another one of these, a different valve body, so I'm gonna use that one instead. My original one just had too deep of a groove in it to really use properly and have it sealed for sure. So I'm just gonna replace this piece instead. So I got this one nice and smoothed out. This is how it should look, a nice smooth kind of bore. I'll say barrel, looks pretty nice. And I got my kickdown rod, a lever, all wire wheeled down, nice and smooth looking too. So ready to put these in the hole. So first things first, make sure you have some transmission lube, basically assembly lube. So we usually use Transgel for that. Use that for many years. We build transmissions, that kind of thing. It's almost kind of like kind of similar to like a Vaseline, but you have to use that. This actually is special for transmissions, so Vaseline is not, it actually isn't an option. But anyway, so we'll get a little bit of lubricant on the bottom of that where it goes in the bore right here, and then we'll put this spring in the hole. This spring in this basically steel ball right here, and we'll push this piece down, and we'll start going from there. So first things first, you're gonna kind of want to get your spring ready to go in the hole here. And your ball on the end, kind of like that. I'll see if I can kind of do this without having you guys still be able to see what I'm actually doing. But I'm trying to push the valve body a little more like that. And you put this piece down in this area, we'll kind of put it back here a little bit. Just kind of like that. Small little screwdriver, you're gonna want to slide into one of the detent areas and kind of catch it on the back side of the ball. One thing to also remember too is when you are putting this piece on, this little lever right here needs to line up with this piston right here in the valve body. So you have to make sure those are lined up at the same time as everything else is lined up, which makes for a good time. It's not too bad overall, it's just not too good either. There we go. So you kind of get it in the right spot. You can kind of push it down just like that. Make sure all this is aligned. And set her down like that, and pull your screwdriver out, and you're ready to go. As you guys tell, there's a little bit of struggling involved sometimes, but it does work once you get there anyway. So, but then you want to make sure all this goes like this too. So that'll work just like that, and have a nice, basically holding action. We'll say, for instance. So it's kind of a lot of like a third hand would be really handy for it. Truthfully, it's just what it is. But anyway. Once you get that piece installed, make sure it's pushed down properly. You put some lube on this thing right here. Actually, what you're going to do is put some lube on the seal. So, put a little bit of gel down the hole right here. That way the seal will hang out. Do this thing properly and kind of move around. And you're going to want to try to get some of the middle as well. Get it all nice and lubed up properly. That. Shove that down in the hole, just like this, and take this shaft and get lots of gel on it as well. That way it can slide up through the seal without having any issues. And it'll slide through just like that till it's all the way up, and you're ready to go. You can kind of wipe a little bit of this grease off. And when you have that done, put your washer back on top, over the top like this. And there usually is a different wear pattern on it, so you can put it the right way. You can see the bottom side has a wear pattern on the far outside edge of the washer. Top side has a wear pattern from where the clip was sitting. So, truthfully, it doesn't matter exactly which way you go, but putting it back the way it was is nice to do in this case. So, and you put your clip on there, like so. And like that, ready to go. Kick down rod is back in the hole. Now it's for the fun part, where you get to use all your finger strength. The little bracket on the outside here. I apologize, there's kind of like a glare in the camera now from the sun. It's kind of hard to do. It's just kind of getting that time of the day where it comes in the garage window over there. So there we go. You can kind of use the park rod as kind of like a stand for the valve body. It's kind of handy in that case. But anyway. Now we'll kind of get these spring style deals over here. I like to put the big screw, the longer screw in from the bottom first, is the easiest one to put in when you're trying to hold all these springs at one time. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get the kickdown lever area right here, in between the washer flange of this bolt here and the body right here. So you're going to kind of want to fish that in there. And this big spring goes on this plunger right there. You kind of twist that around like so. You can kind of take this, push it all the way up to that. You're also gonna put this spring in before you get there, which is kind of like that. Hold it all against the body, and you can shove this screw in like that. Not gonna hold you in place. And you can kind of put some of your other screws in while you got the tension on it as well. There. Now those two are sitting in there, and you can notch all your springs in the right spot. Make sure you got your lever on the right side. And also make sure to never force any of these screws into the body. You can push the springs around and they'll go into place. They do have to have, obviously you don't want to just take the threads and start going with it, because they will cross there pretty easily. This is all just cast aluminum, so it's not very resilient to that kind of activity. But once you get all this aligned, you can go in there. Just kind of go like that. And you're all ready to go. Now you have a new seal on your valve body. All your stuff's all aligned properly, all that kind of thing. So you just want to make sure you got all your valves aligned. This is everything moving freely. You're pushing everything, nothing's caught or anything in that case. All your springs are seated correctly over here, inside this plate, and the one on the end over here. And you're pretty much ready to go to wash your valve body up a little bit if you need to. If not, you can just get ready to put it up in the car. All right, we got the valve body all ready to go over here and stuff. So we're actually got everything else situated on this side, which all ready to go here. Got my bolts ready, all nice and clean. And also you gotta get torque wrench ready to go. Well, actually, this is an inch-pounds wrench. So these bolts they go into the case. These are 100 inch-pounds or 8.3 foot-pounds that go into the case. You don't want to over-tighten these. You always want to torque them because you'll end up with warpage issues, and the actual case of the valve body won't seal to the actual transmission case itself. You'll end up with the fluid bypass issues and all that kind of thing. So, just main story. I always torque these bolts with a proper torque wrench. All right, so Dad's gonna put the piston up in the hole there first. That up in the hole there first. I'll get the valve body up here quick. The first thing you're gonna want to do is I'm gonna put this actually in first gear. That. Then kind of tuck our parking rod up in the hole here. There we go. It's a little bit tricky, you kind of gotta play with it a little bit.
Go back over there, see if you
Got her?
Neutral switch.
Yep. Let's get the parking rod in the fork kind of deal back there, and you slide this up nicely. It's kind of like that. Okay, let go of this for a second. All right, thank you. You slide this up. Neutral safety switch. You push that in too. You can just kind of take your finger and go over here like this. You kind of rock it up past it. Once you got the detent in, you're ready to go like that. And let's put a couple bolts up in the body itself here. Just like that. You're gonna want to put some over the spring, over the area with the spring, pretty early on. That way you don't have to fight that spring the entire time while you're trying to hold it up there. The first things first you can do, just like almost pretty much finger tight with the screwdriver handle, like Dad's doing right now. That way you're pretty much got everything close to the case and aligned properly before you start torquing anything down. And there isn't actually a torque pattern for this, so basically what you more or less want to do is kind of just work your way across, back and forth. I think he's doing a little bit right now, and also I'm going to do the torque wrench too, so go just like that. And like I said, they're not very tight, so you can kind of work your way from the middle out. Of course, you're going to want a little bit of an extension just to kind of get yourself away from the case, away from everything else in your way. And go like that. And usually I try to do these ones over here first and earlier on. Kind of like that. A cross pattern. And you can just kind of work your way across the valve body itself like this. Just like that. Valve body's back up in the hole. And after you get your valve body all torqued down, you put your fresh filter up in the hole. We're just gonna go in basically these 3 screws right here. So you can line her up just like so. These are just regular finger tight, obviously, with your screwdriver as well, so nothing ridiculous. Just like that, you're ready to go. Now it's time to put the pan back on once we get it all glued. So overall, it's a pretty straightforward setup, getting the valve body up there, getting it all torqued down, kind of process you did for disassembling it, obviously. And putting a filter on, which most people always put a filter on, that kind of thing. So now basically we're at a spot we can put our shift levers back on, and then after that, pretty much our oil pan, just so we don't have the silicone kind of hitting our hands whenever we have our arms up there. And when you're installing these shift levers too, I mean, always pretty straightforward, but I figured I'd explain it since I know sometimes people do get them messed up. It's really easy to make sure if your car, you know what gear your car is in up inside the car. So I have this in neutral right now. So I actually put the valve body in neutral as well. Kind of just feed your lever up like that. And obviously there's a flat spot and the lever, and there's a flat spot on your valve body, which you can see in this picture right here. You see I got the flat spot towards the back of the car, which is the lever sitting at right now. So you kind of drop it over the top and kind of just work her down a little bit like that, and be ready to go. I think we're 1 gear off right now, so we actually got to move the valve body back. And the valve body is in the wrong gear too. You can kind of play with it down in the car here. So you can see this was that park pin rod basically. You can kind of push in the lever right here, and then also you can kind of push in the lever back in this area. You can kind of feel around for it and move your valve body a little bit to adjust your lever, in which now I have it all in line, just like so. So you can just kind of take this, kind of work it down just like that, and you're ready to go. And it is easier to put the car in park too, because then there's nut to bleed towards the front side of the tranny, and you can tighten that bolt a lot easier on the actual lever itself. Now the kickdown rod is the top one, and as you guys saw, the lever on the tranny up there, or the pin on the tranny here, the kickdown has a flat spot. It's actually got a cut in it, as you can see right here. And the cut always faces outward, and then you actually have your lever for your kickdown. That has to go on with the lever in this orientation, where the flat portion is downhill and the little hook is on top. And that actually has the detent cut in the top portion of this to line up with that flat area. So then you can kind of just roll it around like so. Slide it over the top, kind of just like that, and just kind of rock it down until you're home, just like that. And then from that point, tighten your bolt up, and all your levers are on. And for the tranny pan, you just kind of fish it up in the hole. A couple bolts in it, as you can see right here. That way you can actually line it up a little bit while your the gasket doesn't get lost on you, with silicone on both sides of it, so you're sealing the transmission properly. So a couple bolts just like that, and you can finish putting them all around the circle, and you're ready to go. Now that you got the panel nice and tight, the neutral safety switch wiring hook back up, I got this all cleaned. And the only thing to do is you might want to put a little bit of lubricant on these levers once in a while too, just to make sure they move nicely. And now that your pan's all on, you can pour some fluid in from the top side, make sure it's full, you're all ready to go. But hope you guys enjoyed this informational video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll answer what I can. But hope this helps eliminate that nasty leak that's just steadily dripping underneath your vehicle. So it's a wrap for this video. Catch you guys later. Thank you guys for watching this channel. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit that like button, smash the subscribe button there too. We'll catch you all later.